Good evening, everyone, again. We're just going to allow another 2 minutes, and then we're going to begin the program for this evening. Thank you for joining, and we're going to be starting shortly. Okay, I see the time is now 7:07 p.m. I want to thank everyone who's joined already. So if there's anyone else who comes on, yeah, so if there's anyone else who comes on, they'll join us midstream. The presentation, believe we will be making available after this as well, so people will have an opportunity to review it at their leisure and can always contact the office if we have any questions. So let me just say welcome. Thank you very much for joining us this evening. My name is Fred Baptiste. I currently serve as the chair of Brooklyn Community Board 9. We want to thank you to our program, Learn About Your Community Board. So this is, I think, the second year yeah, I think it's the second year that we've done this. And we find that it's a little bit useful in terms of hopefully giving the residents in the community or people who've been, associated with the board in the past, just a refresher in terms of what we are as a board, how we're constituted, how we operate, and if you are so, if you so desire, how to actually join the board or participate in the board activities. So again, I currently serve as the board chair. I've been on the community board for about 10 years now. But I want to say it's a fantastic way to participate, to make a contribution to the community. I just really am thankful for all the connections I've made in terms of, being able to connect with neighbors, kind of learning about city government as well in terms of who's responsible for what. So I think it's really a great way in terms of being able to give back and do something for the community. Okay, so just a couple of items. So in terms of our structure for this evening, we are going to be giving a presentation. So there'll be a presentation with a number of slides. They'll be facilitated by myself and our district manager, Dante Arnwine. At brief points, just because we want to make sure we're moving the program and we just want to make sure that we're able to go along. We'll entertain a couple of questions, but we would ask if everyone has questions, kind of write them down. So hopefully when we get to the end, we'll be able to address all those. And hopefully maybe even some of those questions get answered as we continue through the program as well. In terms of housekeeping items, one, I just want to remind everyone of the rules of order. This is typically read at all of our community board meetings. We're not going to read the entire rules, but just suffice it to say, the main rule or the crux of it is respect. Our community board, we are residents, we are neighbors. We live here, we raise kids, we work here, we have houses, we raise families. So we're all here together. So, and as we say that, we experience things differently in Brooklyn as well. And that's okay, because that diversity is what makes us strong. It's what makes the district great. So we just ask that everyone respect that as well. Understand that we may have differences of opinion, but the one thing we do is we try and we know we can disagree without being disagreeable as well. Also, just in terms of the Zoom, If you have to rate, if you would like to ask a question, we ask that you use the raise hand function. So if you're using the Zoom app, it's typically under reactions and you'll see the icon to raise your hand. That's usually a toggle. So if you press it once, you'll raise your hand. You press it again, that'll lower your hand. Particularly if you're joining us by phone this evening, um, to use some of the functions, to use the raise hand function, you're going to press *9. So *9 will raise your hand. Similarly, *9 will lower your hand. You should get a prompt by Zoom telling you if you're raising your hand or lowering your hand. Additionally, we would ask that everyone, just to make sure that we can hear what's being presented and we can hear each other when we're asking questions, please stay muted. To unmute yourself, again, if you're on the application, I believe there should be a mute button where you can, there should be a mute button located all the way on the left side of the control panel. If you are on the phone, joining us by phone, *6. The *6 function mutes you and unmutes you, so it's a toggle. Okay. And with that, I think that is, and I'll say this as well. So when we get to the point where we're, asking questions or anything like that, we want to take that opportunity to kind of get to learn who's in the room as well. So we just ask that you just introduce yourself very briefly. Any information you would like to provide about yourself, just so we can learn about the different neighbors in the room. Okay, and with that, we are going to begin our program. At this time, I would like to turn it over to our district manager, Mr. Dante Arnwine.
Right, give me a sec here to get it up. All right, you can see that? Okay. You see that? Perfect. Okay. All right. Well, good evening, everyone. My name is Dante Arnwine. I serve as the district manager of Brooklyn Community Board 9. As Fred mentioned before, this is our second go around doing the Learn About Your Community Board session. I just want to reiterate that this is an info session. It is not a meeting, does not require any type of quorum. This session will hopefully teach you a little bit about the community board, at least give you the bare bones about what a community board is, what it does, who's on it, how it operates, so on and so forth. So I will move on to the next slide. So Brooklyn Community Board 9 serves the neighborhoods of South Crown Heights, PLG, Wingate, and portions of North Flatbush. I want to take a particular note of, on this slide, you'll see at the very top, it says Community District 9. Sometimes you'll hear people interchange the words Community Board 9, Community District 9. Community District 9 refers to the geographical area of the community district for which Community Board 9 serves. So just for clarification, Community Board 9 is the city agency, us, and then Community District 9 is the geographical area jurisdiction that we represent. To our north, we have Eastern Parkway. To our west, Washington Avenue and Ocean. To our south, Clarkson. To our east, mostly Utica, and I believe a little bit of Rochester. So what is a community board? New York City is divided into 59 geographical community districts. And of course, each one has its own respective community board. The community boards are municipal bodies up to, which is important, 50 representatives. Board members are appointed by their respective borough president. So the folks in Brooklyn are now being appointed by Borough President Antonio Reynoso. Half of them are appointed at recommendations for their local council members. So typically the process is, if you're interested in the board, you would reach out to your local council member. Council member would have whatever their criteria is for their recommendation, and then they would offer your name to the borough president if you satisfied that. And then board members, as you may or may not know, serve in a voluntary capacity for a 2-year staggered terms. So board members are likely some of your neighbors. I see some familiar names on here. People that you work with, if you work in the neighborhood, if you own a business in the neighborhood on one of our commercial corridors, we have a lot of folks on the board. So members can be anyone. And it's really anyone who has a significant interest in the community district itself. What does a community board do? Something that's important to note is that community boards are advisory. So the community board will make recommendations regarding proposed variances from the zoning resolutions, special permit applications. Those, for example, would be state liquor authority applications, SLA. Upcoming will be cannabis license. So those types of licenses come before the board. And so they make recommendations on those types of licenses and the placement of most municipal facilities in the community district and other land use issues. The board also makes recommendations for improving services through the budget process. Right now, the mayor, I believe in early January, released the preliminary budget for the city of New York. The board will have a hearing, I guess later this month, since we're in February now, regarding that budget. If you need that information, you can reach out to the board office, but this is an opportunity to be early in the process and advocate for some of the things that we need in our community. The community board also assesses community district needs and makes recommendations for city capital and expense budgets to address some of those needs. So capital expense is typically brick and mortar, right? If you are, lacking a library in your community, your capital recommendations may, be for, a library or an expansion of some sort. And then also expense budget, those are more programming things. So, we need youth services in our community. Those are more expense budget items that the board can advocate for in the budgetary process. The board also is responsible for monitoring the services delivered to the community, which I will get into a little bit further. And then the board also serves as an advocate for the disposition and the welfare of the community. So this is a place where people have an opportunity to, speak their mind, voice their opinion on things that are impacting the community. We do our absolute best to be as transparent as possible. This is an open forum. All of our meetings are open to the public. And so we definitely encourage, people to come out. If you know of a person who's interested in the board, have them reach out to the board. We'll be able to provide this information at after, but yes. So next, our organizational chart for the board. So I just want to make a quick note as I go down, I'll make the note. So the community board or the general board, the general body, coterminous, is up to 50 members, as mentioned before, that are appointed by the borough president at the recommendation of local council members. Now, the board oversees, and I will move right to left. The board oversees committees. So committees are established in our CB9 bylaws. As of now, our standing committees are the Economic Development Committee, Education and Library Committee, Environmental Protection, Health and Social Services, Housing, Nominations, Parks, Recreation and Culture, Public Safety, Transportation, Land Use, and Youth Services Committee. So those are our standing committees. It consists of appointed board members, resident committee members, and elected officials who serve as ex officio. It's also comprised of committee chairs. Committee chairs are appointed by the board chair. And then committees, some are ad hoc committees, can be created by the chair with the consent of the general board. The community board also oversees the executive committee. The executive committee works in unison with committees and works in unison with the district office to keep things moving. The executive committee are officers elected from the board membership, typically in, I believe, the June meeting. The executive committee consists of the board chairperson, the first and second vice chairs, the executive secretary, the treasurer, and 2 members at large. The responsibilities of an officer are listed in our CB9 bylaws, and the executive committee provides oversight of the board and committee operations. So now I will move furthest left. The board also oversees the district manager and the board office. So as the district manager, I manage the board office for the community board. So in 2021, I was hired by the general body to serve as district manager. And as I mentioned before, I oversee the operations of the district office. On our staff, we have 2 staff members. I don't believe they're on tonight, but Mia Hilton serves as our assistant district manager, and Khalid Jamaat serves as our community associate. So I just want to make that note. On the slide, it says community assistant. We did upgrade that title to community associate over the summer, and Khalid Jamaat serves in that capacity. And on our executive committee, as you hopefully saw before, the chair of the board, Fred Baptiste, serves as chair of the board and chair of the executive committee. Warren Burke serves as our first vice chair. Francisca Leopold serves as our second vice chair. Linda Watson-Lord serves as our executive secretary. Christian LeBeau serves as our treasurer. And our members at large are Nicholas Almanor and Kyrie Elaine. They both serve in that capacity. Bylaws and governing docs. So if you go onto the community board website, you will see it looks like this. So if you click the About section in the About BK CB9, you can go down, you'll see a tab that has our governing documents. Also, our previous statement of community district needs. So the board does a community district needs statement every year. We take testimony from members of the public, community resident members, board members, any person about the needs of the community, and we formulate a report every year. But if you are interested in learning the ins and outs of the board, you can go onto our website. As I mentioned, our bylaws are on our website. Also, I would encourage you, if you read the bylaws, also read the city charter. That's also important as well, because that really governs us as a whole. The rules of order, as the chair mentioned before, in the community board meetings, there are rules of order. Respect is our number one thing. We want to make sure that people who are coming to community board meetings are respected. Doesn't matter where they're from, what their opinion is. We want to show everyone respect. So our rules of order are also on our website. And then also the open meetings law, which requires all meetings that the board does, as it talks about board business that requires a quorum where action items will take place. That language is also on our board website as well. So feel free to go onto our website and review that information.
Okay. Thank you very much, Dante, for all you covered. So I know that, and that's a lot that we've actually Dante just went through. So I'll tell you what, just so that way we have an opportunity, we can take a couple of questions. I would ask again that if you have questions, please write those down. So we'll try and make sure we definitely cover everything by the end. But are there any pressing questions right now in terms of, does anybody have any questions about some of the materials we've covered? Okay, and again, if you're on the phone, it's *9 will be the raise hand function. That'll allow us to see if you have a question. Okay, Dante, I don't see anything. Do you see anything?
No.
Okay, all right, so we'll continue. All right, so just talking a little bit more about the board as well. So as Dante had mentioned earlier, the community boards are overseen by Brooklyn Borough Hall. The borough president, he appoints all the members of all the boards, and we're under the umbrella of the borough president's office. So the relationship between Borough Hall and the boards, and it's important to understand as well. So they, the borough president appoints all the board members, but community boards are also independent city agencies. So we serve two functions. We are a representative body. So we represent the residents of the district. And we also serve as a city agency where the district office takes care of a number of things on behalf of the district as well. So if there's reports to be filed, if there's follow-ups with other city agencies, they do that as well. On a monthly basis. So we do have that relationship with Borough Hall where the boards do go back, we attend certain meetings. So as the CB9 chair, I attend what they call the borough board. So the borough board acts as an advisory function in terms of which all the chairs of all the respective community boards, will weigh in and give opinions with respect to different, if it's legislation or if it's about land use, proposals that are being done. So we serve there. On the other side of that, we have the district manager who represents the CB9 at the Borough Service Cabinet meeting. So at which point they'll discuss with the Borough President's office any issues with respect to services that are being rendered within the district. So the board, Borough Hall, it does provide certain technical and other kinds of support as well. So, for the pandemic, one of the examples of that was it had given access to WebEx. So that way we were able to do remote meetings. And there's different other levels of support that they give as well. Sometimes it's financial or it may be in other places as well. But all to say, we do work directly with Borough Hall to bring programming and services to the district. And just to mention very briefly, I think one of the things that we're very proud of is the partnership we had with Borough Hall, along with some of the other council members as well, and our assembly member as well, in terms of bringing the farm stand. That was a conversation where we had a supermarket that had closed down. Food insecurity is a serious issue in the district. But we were very happy to say that partnership, in conjunction with Borough Hall, we were able to bring the farm stand, and that's been standing strong for a good amount of time. So definitely, I think I want to leave that slide by saying that yes, we do work closely with Borough Hall in terms of being able to improve things in the district. Next slide. Okay, so Dante had also touched on the committees in terms of our structure. So we do have 10, I believe it's 10 standing committees, plus we also have the executive committee, which serves an oversight function. So so all the committees work on the respective areas of concern within the district. We are not limited to those. Those are the standing committees as outlined in our bylaws. But one of the things we do want to be aware of is that we have the ability to adapt and change as necessary. So we can add and we can change committees as well. So the real work of the board gets done on these committees. This is where we have the opportunity to really hear from residents. This is where we have the opportunity to develop recommendations, to get the information, to request information from agencies. We can go in depth and have those in-depth conversations on the committee level. So the committees, they discuss and plan board-sponsored events, programming. Our committees by the city charter are required to meet at least 5 times per year. Most of our committees will meet on a monthly basis, but minimally all the committees work from September to June, at least 5 times. The committee schedules, they do vary, so we try and stagger the committees so that way everyone has an opportunity to meet before the executive committee, so that way we can come together, we can exchange ideas, we can monitor progress, and create collaborations as necessary, even between committees. The committee is also responsible for keeping minutes of meetings. They keep track of all the issues in the district. So they will, ask for studies. They will look at new issues that arise, and they will also monitor long-term conversations that we've had as well. Yeah, the committees are really the engine that drive the board. They help us to plan for the future of the community. They identify the issues and discuss the reports, and we absolutely welcome. And I think it's critical that we have community engagement and participation in those committees as well, because that helps us to fully understand the issues that we need to be addressing as a community. All right. So just very briefly, so this is something we're learning as we go along. But this is more for informational purposes in terms of some of the items that we've historically worked on, and that some of the the relationships that committees have. So for example, if you look at the right, you see the Public Safety Committee. Often this will be the committee that's responsible for maintaining relations with NYPD or FDNY, the Kings County District Attorney's Office, civilian patrols. So we do have a number of community-based civilian patrols. the idea being that they're able to make that connection in terms of we have those relationships so we can kind of figure out what's going on in the district. So that way we understand what the issues are, what actions need to be taken, and we can advocate appropriately for the community as well. Okay, so with respect to the board members, so first, let me say this, and I think Dante already touched that. It's a volunteer job. It's a volunteer job. We do this because we care about the community. If you do this, it will be because you care about the community. But as we say that as well, there is a commitment. So in terms of the commitments for board members, all board members, once you're on the board, you're responsible for obviously coming to all the community board meetings. They're scheduled typically by in CB9 at the fourth Tuesday of the month, and we'll talk a little bit about that. But also, again, because also all board members are required in our bylaws to serve on at least one community board committee. Again, our committees meet from September to June, and the commitment is going to, the requirement is that you commit to serving on one committee. And attendance is key. And this is something that, we'll stress at several points. It's being here, it's participating, it's attending. That's what's going to make the community board work. That's what enables us to carry on the business of the community. So we need to make sure that you're committed to coming and participating. And one of the things that this slide, one of the bullets that we're talking about here that I think is really important is the board. You don't have to wait for committee meetings or board meetings to let us know what's going on. The district office is open 5 days a week, I believe from 9 to 5, or it might even be a little bit earlier than that. What we really encourage, one of the things I want to say is that even for the currently 43 members on the board, we don't always know everything that's happening in the district, and we don't know what we don't know. So this is where it's critical that, as a board member, as a committee member, or just as a resident, if you let us know what's happening, if you see an issue, please make sure you report it via 311. But then we also ask that you take the next step in terms of making sure the district office gets that information. That helps us to be able to track issues. We know if something is a one-off, or we know if it's a chronic problem. But so we would ask that everyone make sure that you look to us as a resource, so that way we can do it. And I have to say this for our district office team, they are phenomenal. They get results done. So absolutely make sure that you're telling other people as well, other neighbors and residents of the district to make sure that, one, we don't let things slide. We all deserve our services. We all deserve clean streets. We deserve good parks. We deserve good schools. We search safe streets. If there are any issues, make sure you report those, because that's what we deserve, and make sure you reach out to the board office. And again, we don't know where everyone's plugged in. So what always helps the board is if you know of an organization, if it's a community-based organization, or if you're on a block association, or if there are new organizations that are in the district, us knowing about them helps us to be able to make referrals. So if there's a block party coming, or somebody's in the neighborhood, we can say, you know what, there's a block association that can use your help, or you might be able to engage them and see what we can do to make the community better. And as board members, we definitely encourage that you seek leadership. So one of the things we do is we encourage board members to serve as vice chairs or secretaries of committees. We really believe in trying to grow members' talent to hopefully take on leadership roles at some point. And also, if you have questions about how to do things, we're here as a resource. Okay, and this one I think we've kind of discussed, where the prerequisite of the prerequisite for being a good board member is being there. So attendance. Again, I don't think we can ever underscore more in terms of we need for everyone to come. We meet every month as a board. We have decisions we need to make. We need to make sure a core number of members are there and attending. And the one thing I'll say is this as well: we always understand that, you're on the board because you're a busy person. You're on the board because you're engaged in the team. And I think just for that, we're already thankful that you're here, that you're here to learn about the board. But the one thing we would say is that if you're ready to take that additional step, that you also have to make the board a priority. One of the things we work to do is try and make sure that we minimize the amount of times that we're going to call on you to do things. But we need you to make sure that you're making the commitment to be here on those scheduled meetings. We do our best to try and make sure that those are given in advance. There's a yearly calendar that's given for all board meetings, as well as the executive. And we do ask the chairs to also try and give their schedules in advance as well. So most of the chairs have already, committed to doing a meeting on a particular day of the month. So it's fairly regular. So we would just ask that, if you're looking to make that kind of commitment, that it's on your calendar, that you're making sure you're coming. And in the, and we understand life happens as well. And if you're not able to come, communication is the next best thing, is the next thing right there. As the board chair, I'm available, be able to contact me, your committee chair. The district office is phenomenal and they're always there and they'll enable communications for you as well. We just ask that you make sure that you're communicating if there's something going on, if you can't make a meeting, or if there's a larger issue in terms of that might affect your ability to participate, to let us know so that way we can have conversations in terms of what we can best do to accommodate if possible. Again, I think, and you've heard this several times, absences, life happens. We understand that people have families, we have children, we have jobs, and other things that come about. So it just comes a matter of just making sure we're making that communication, and to the extent possible, absences may be able to be excused by the board chairperson or the committee chair. But the main thing is just make sure you're reaching out.
All right. So the general board, the community board. So as the chair had mentioned prior, the general board meeting typically takes place on the fourth Tuesday of each month, excluding July and August. So the board does not meet in the months of July and August. I say typically because sometimes we run into scheduling conflicts, right? There's a lot of holidays, a lot of religious observances. I think our meeting in June always falls on primary day. So we try to move things around. We try to give at least a lot of notice so you all know when the meetings are, but typically the fourth Tuesday of the month. During general board meetings, the board members will conduct board business in a public meeting. Public meeting, this is accessible to everyone. It's online. As you can imagine, we're doing things virtually now. If you know someone who may not have access to internet, they can connect via phone. If they have access to internet, they can connect online just like we're doing now. So, this is open to the public. Committee chairs, the district manager, and the chair of the board, and often the treasurer will give reports to the general board. So we will give an update, essentially a monthly update on issues affecting the board and affecting the community. Also during the general board meetings, this is an opportunity for city agencies, their representatives to come and inform members of the public and the board of upcoming projects in the community, current initiatives that are taking place. Also an opportunity for elected officials to come and speak directly to board members and members of the community. Often elected officials will send representatives from their offices. So, you'll get to meet them, get to know their staffs a little bit. Also at the general board meeting, we do use Robert's Rules of Order, which is parliamentary procedure, to conduct our board meetings. Again, there's a lot of people who get on the meetings and we're very passionate about our community, but we need structure and we want to make sure that the business of the board happens. And so we do use Robert's Rules of Order, a parliamentary procedure during our meetings. Members of the public do have an opportunity to speak during the public comment period, which is required per our bylaws. So typically, I think on the slide itself, you see a picture of a typical agenda for the general board meeting. In the public session, we start with the public session. So the chair will call the meeting to order, briefly discuss any special licenses that we may have, SLA, as I said, in the future, possibly cannabis. And then after that, there is a public comment period. During the public comment period, that's an opportunity for any member of the public to speak. They can speak about anything, the welfare of the community, a problem that they're having, so on and so forth. Typically, they get 3 minutes. Just kind of depends on how packed the agenda is and how many people sign up for public comment. You can call ahead, email ahead prior to the general board meeting to sign up for public comment. And I believe that during the committee meetings, most chairs give an opportunity for members of the public to comment and, of course, always to participate in the committee work. So there is an opportunity, again, during the general board, public comment to address the board. Agendas can be found on our website. So if you go to our website and you go to the About, there is a button on there, agendas. Sorry, I gotta let back into, okay. Yeah, agendas and also minutes. All of that can be found on the board website. Once the board office receives the agendas from the committee chairs, we work deliberately to get them up on the board website so they're accessible to the public. Same with committee minutes. Once we receive them, we work diligently to get them up onto the website so they're accessible for the public. Again, all of our meetings are recorded. So if you're interested in looking back at a meeting, you could go onto our YouTube page. We also have a YouTube page. You can go in there. All the meetings, general board, executive, all the committee meetings are on there for you to access. So a little bit more about the board office. So as mentioned before and multiple times, I serve as the district manager. Mia Hilton serves as our ADM, and Khalid Jamaat serves as our community associate. So the board office, we actively participate in the coordination of the delivery of services. So we have a good relationship with agency representatives, and something that we see often, unfortunately, is that there's gaps in service. And so what we will do is work with those agency reps to see if we can address whatever that issue is in the community in a timely fashion. The board office, we attend meetings and report on issues concerning the district. And so something that I do as a district manager is I hold a district service cabinet meeting once a month. And so I meet with agency representatives. So special things that come up in the day-to-day of the board or even in the community, that meeting happens monthly, and it gives me an opportunity to you really have a candid conversation with agency representatives. We're on the same team. We're trying to work together, to make sure that folks are living in a healthy, clean community. And so sometimes the slack, people drop the ball on things. And so, part of our job as a board is to hold agencies accountable. And so that's something that, I do and through conversation at my district service cabinet meetings. Something else that the board does, the board office, excuse me, is that we process complaints from members of the public. So, you might have a pothole on your street. You might be curious why there are tree pits on your block and there's just holes sitting. It might be flooding on your block, whatever it may be. Typically, if you call in a complaint to 311, that's the type of complaint that we will address. And so I believe the chair mentioned it earlier. One of the best things that we ask is, if you see something in the community, report it. Now, when I say report it, it's imperative to report it to 311, because once it's reported, it's in a record, right? And then, that 311 data, that's open data, that's available to everyone. And so that type of data allows us to really make smart policy decisions, right? Elected officials, community boards alike, use that information to craft policy, to make policy decisions, to figure out what types of services and attention needed a district for specific issues. And so I definitely just want to urge, if you ever see an issue in the community, report it to 311. Some agencies allow you to just report directly to the agency. I think DOT is an agency like that. So it's like email the commissioner and it's, a specific complaint. You can do that as well. Once you submit a complaint, make sure you note the service request number, any reference number that you receive. Reach out to the board office, give us that information. That allows us to be able to follow up with that respective agency to see if they're making any progress on your issue. We also handle, as you can imagine, all the administrative functions of the board office. So part of the administrative, and this rolls into setting the agendas, organizing the committee agenda, setting the meetings, and maintaining the records and the minutes. It rolls all into one. And so, the stuff that you see on the website, the information that goes out, that's from the board office. We work diligently to try to get information out as far as we can. One thing that I definitely want to encourage any person on the session is, if you're not registered to our weekly e-blast, register for it. We get so much information from city agencies, from nonprofits, good services that are being offered either in district or relatively close in the adjoining neighborhoods. And so, I definitely, the information that goes out, we try to extend as far as we can. But as Fred says, we don't know what we don't know. And so, if there's someone out there who may not have internet, right? If they can give a call to the board office or visit the board office, we'll figure out a way to get them information. We're a community board. We don't have a large budget. We don't have resources like other city agencies. We don't have the addresses of every person we represent. We don't have the names of all the people that we represent. So it's really incumbent upon us as a body to talk to one another. And so with this type of discussion, I would be handling, as a district leader. But I will go into that just a little bit more later. Next, I'm going to go into city funding for the community board. So the board, as mentioned before, is a city agency and is funded through O&B, the Mayor's Office of Management and Budget. Our funding is approximately $381,000 a year. You will hear many community boards often mention that their budgets are slim to none, very small, and it just seems year after year it keeps shrinking. Our budget covers staff salaries, the rent, where we're located on 890 Nostrand, and for operational expenses. The board may receive discretionary funding from local council members for specific initiatives. So, there's initiatives out there like Shop Local. If the board did a Shop Local, initiative, a local council member could give discretionary funding for such an endeavor. So it really just depends on the local council member. The fiscal year starts July 1st and ends June 30th every year. So the way that the city budget works for us as a city agency, we have to essentially have all of our services used by all of our services have to happen by June 30th. So if we are looking for a specific service, it must happen before June 30th. So it's on the current fiscal year. Once July 1st hits, those expenditures go into the next fiscal year. So we have a tight budget, a tight cycle. And it's like that every year. The board budget is administered by me, the district manager, and the budget is meant for the operation of the board office. As you can imagine, Zoom costs money, right? We went into a pandemic, needed to be purchased. So this is the forum and the structure in which government moved. So we use the board office budget to really, mitigate certain things, but it is there to simply for the operation of the board budget. And then the district manager, I work with the committees. So something that Fred mentioned before is that a lot of the work happens in committees. Our committees plan events, right? Sometimes events take capital. And so I will work with the committee chairs. The committees will come up with a proposal. So depending on whatever their event is, they will come up with a proposal, typically to the tune of $1 amount. And I will assess the board budget to see, okay, what can we actually purchase? We can't just purchase anything. We do have to follow certain rules required to procurement. So, really allows me to work with the committees, see what they're doing in their committee work, and then I work with them to figure out if the board will be able to provide funding for that specific event or program. So some of you, I can't, because I'm sharing screen, I can't see every face or screen, but if you aren't on the board and you're interested in joining the board, the community board application is administered by the borough president's office. So if you have seen a copy of the application, or you go onto our website, in the news section, you can get a copy of the community board application. You can also fill it out online. That link is also on our website. To apply, again, online or paper copy, the deadline is February 14th. And at least from the conversations that I've been hearing, this is a strict deadline. I do know that the borough president is looking to make appointments in a timely fashion. Sometimes, often what you see is those appointments tend to lag into the later months. And so I do know that that the borough president, this is a pretty strict deadline. And so if you are planning on applying, make sure you get your application in before February 14th. And I definitely want to encourage some of our resident committee members, because I think I did see some on. You should definitely apply for the board. You're already on the committee as a committee resident member. You understand the workings of the committee. If you have the capacity, the time, and you're able to commit, and you already know what's happening with the committee, I definitely would encourage you to apply to the board, to be an appointed member to the board. But again, the process is administered by the borough president's office. So applications don't come to the community board, they go to Borough Hall. So I put Carol Ann Church, she's the director of community boards for Borough Hall. If you have any questions, comments, thoughts, questions about what you need to submit with any supplemental application, any supplemental information that you need to submit with the application, email CB application at brooklynbp.nyc.gov. And the phone number is there. If you need that information, I can obviously supply it to you if you reach out to the board office. But that application is administered by Borough Hall. So again, please fill it out for February 14th. It's a strict deadline. Resident committee members. So resident committee members are, I can't see the thing. Okay, yes, resident committee members are vital to the work of the committees. Resident committee members are appointed to the committee by the chairperson of the board or by the committee chair. They serve as voting members on their respective committee. So as Fred mentioned about attendance for board members, attendance is also paramount for resident committee members as well, because they are voting members on the committee. The 2023 to 2024 resident committee member application will come out in the summer. It's a simple application. As you can see, just a picture of a Google Doc. It will ask you information about which committees are you interested in serving on, a little bit about your background, and if you have any skills to offer, right? In this community, there's a lot of people who do a lot of things that we don't know about. And what I'm finding out, at least being as a district manager, is that people are interested in getting involved. And you find out every now and then, oh, that person's a teacher, oh, that person's a lawyer, or that person's a nurse. There's a lot of expertise in our own neighborhood. And so, I think that there's an opportunity there for the board where that expertise can be all in one place. So if you know people, or you yourself, if you're interested and you can't make the commitment of being a board member, at least try to be a resident committee member. still, you can still be involved on the committees. You can still have an impact in your community and on the board. So I definitely just want to encourage all of you, if you know of anyone who's interested, who may not be able to be a full board member, but could commit to being a resident committee member, definitely have them reach out to the board office. Again, that application, updated application for 2023 to 2024 will go live in the summer. And I definitely just want to note and just highlight, if you all know of anyone who's young, I know that the borough president is making an effort to get younger people on the boards. This community is filled with a lot of people, many different ages. And to ensure that, this board represents this community accurately, I think it's important that, if there are young people that you know of that have the capacity, that are interested in getting involved in a community, have them reach out. One, if they're over, I believe over the age of 18, have them apply to be a board member. And if they can't have that commitment, maybe they could be a resident committee member as well, or a resident committee member. I mentioned this a little earlier, but it's important, right? To submit a complaint is important, right? A lot of people talk about things, but talking doesn't mean it actually gets recorded, right? It's hard to quantify that data. So submitting 311 complaints is a great and the best way to report it, right? And we can quantify it, right? Quantify that data. That allows us to see, oh, in Community District 9, we had 15 heat and hot water complaints. We had 20 sanitation complaints, so on or so forth, right? We can look at that, and that will also drive conversation in committees, right? You all live in the community, you know what's happening on your block. So when you make a report, and even if you're not able to serve as a board member, you can still come to the committee meetings. Talk about it, right? This is how we're going to change things in our community. So definitely report that. Again, you can email the board office. If it's an issue, if you're able to take a photo, oh, please, take a photo. Photos are great. If you can't, if you're unable to get there, call the board office, let us know. I will go out myself if I have to take the photo and get it. But sending a photo with the information is huge for us. So just remember that if you submit a complaint to the board. You can also submit a complaint via 311. You can do it on our board website as well. So there's multiple ways that you can submit complaints to the board office. And again, the chair made this statement earlier. You don't have to wait until a committee meeting to report. You don't have to wait until a monthly meeting to report. If you see an issue, report it, and then report it to the board office as soon as you see it. And we will get to work on it as soon as possible. The last, what we don't want, if you see something in the beginning of the month and then you wait until exec or the general board, that issue has been there for now 3 weeks, right? So if you see something, report it. And then the last thing is, and I mentioned this before, and I just want to reiterate this, sign up for our weekly e-blast. It goes out typically every Friday. That kind of depends if there's a holiday on a Friday or not, but we typically send it out every Friday. I just took 2 screenshots you can see from my cell phone. This is what the layout looks like. We put all of our board meetings in it, all notices that we receive regarding construction in the district, we put in it. Again, we get information, job notices, community fairs, career fairs, the list goes on and on. We get a lot of stuff from a lot of organizations, some mostly in Brooklyn, but some in other boroughs. But nevertheless, information is information, and information is valuable. So if you know of anyone who needs, who could sign up for this, who may need it, let us know. And we'll have them reach out to the board office, and we'll get them signed up. And with that, Chair, I turn it back over to you.
Always forget to hit the unmute button. Okay, so and with that, that concludes the actual formal presentation. I want to thank everyone for your patience as we've gone through. I know there's a lot of information that's there. The deck will be made available, so people will have an opportunity to review that as well on the website. But at this time, I did ask for, if anybody had questions to take those down as well. So we'll do our best to try and get to as many questions as we can right now. If you could, please use the raise hand function. So if you're on the application, remember, go to reactions and you'll see the raise hand icon right there. If you're on the phone and you have a question you would like to ask, you can also use the *9 function. Okay. And again, if you're on phone, so to unmute yourself, you'll just hit *6. That'll unmute you, and just as well as it'll mute you as well. That'll be the top. Okay, so with that, let's do this. Let's go down. Let's see if there's a list of questions. Okay, we'll just go down. So I see Mr. Soren. I see you, Jay.
Hello, Mr. Chair. Can you hear me? I want to make sure you hear me.
Yes.
Great.
Yes.
I had a question. We're talking about committees. In the rules of order, they talk about public comment sessions and where the public can ask questions to the chair, to the committee chair, or their designee. In a committee, does the public have a right to not only make comments but also ask questions of the committee chair in a committee, not as opposed to in a general board meeting?
Okay, it's a little bit of a technical answer. From our understanding that we've had with Corporation Counsel before, we are not actually required to take public commentary at the committee level. Monthly meetings of the board, so the general board meetings, there is a requirement for all boards to do that. So we have our public session, commentary session that we have at the boards. At CB9, we do it a little bit differently in terms of typically, as the committees are the ones doing the work, I think most of the chairs have been, definitely given the green. I think most of our committees operate where it's more open in that sense, where we want to know what's going on. So we definitely encourage the public to come to the committee meetings. You will more than likely being given an opportunity to speak, to address, see what the issues are, and engage with the committee. So that way we can really kind of figure out what the issues are and start the process of trying to see what solutions we can develop.
Yeah, just to respond to that, just to clarify, I agree 100% with you, Mr. Chair. I read online that there was a recent appellate court decision with Alicia Boyd, and in that case, that's probably where which was with Board 9, they said that committees, you have the right to attend, but in terms of actually speaking in a public comment session, they said you don't actually have it. So if corporate counsel told that to you, yeah, you can attend, but unfortunately in committees, according to the charter, people don't necessarily have that right. Now, just because it's not, you don't have that right, you still can give it to them. You still could let people speak. And in the rules of order number 4, it says during general board meetings and committee meetings and outside of public comment session portions of meetings, members of the public may ask questions and comments upon agenda items only when recognized by the chair, committee chair, or designee. So number 4 in the rules gives people that right. Plus, based upon custom and usage, you guys always give that. So in terms of going forward, in terms of the ambiguity, I think there's a right in number 4. And the second thing is as a board chair, like your administration, would you say that you're going to give people that right to speak during the committee hearings? Because the problem is the way that we did, for instance, the bylaws committee, the bylaws was actually not a committee. It was actually an info session. And somebody asked me today, they put me on the spot and they said to me, look, it's Black History Month. They said, how come the Manhattan community boards, when they have a bylaws, they have a committee? They said committee 2, community board 2, community board 6, community board 8, all have bylaws committee in Manhattan. But here, we don't have it. We have it as an info session. So my question is going forward, would you consider having it as a bylaws committee so people could speak and ask questions? Because right now, they couldn't ask any questions in the bylaws. Would you consider changing the info session to a committees and giving the public a right to ask questions and comment in the committee, not the general, but in the committee, the bylaws committee?
Well, to your original question, I think in terms of the committees, in terms of input, in terms of, that's what the board does. So in the committee setting, at the discretion of the chair. Now, obviously, the one thing I'd probably say is at the discretion of the chair, because depending on what's on the calendar, what's on the schedule, they may have to limit that in terms of they may not be able to take all the questions or get all that public input because of just time limitations or whatever else, because they have an agenda they have to complete. But otherwise, for the most part, that is how we function in committees. And, rather than give a blanket statement in terms of what we're going to commit to doing, we look at those on a case-by-case basis. The ultimate thing being getting the job done. Getting the job done. We get the, we get the public commentary as possible. So there's always the public commentary at the monthly meetings. I think we get more than enough emails at the board level where we get, feedback all the time. But I think the board reserves the right to figure out how it's best to address the business at hand,
But
while
which,
at the same time staying in compliance. But I understand your
but
question.
is
But
that committee?
no,
is that
Jay,
committee
you
that
asked the question. I
committee
gave you an answer. Thank you,
the
Jay.
board, but
Thank
not
you,
for the
Jay.
committee?
Jay.
Okay,
Thank
you, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
You're welcome. Ms. And I apologize in advance if is it Doyen Saab?
Yeah, hi. Sorry, I'm
Hi.
at the gym, so I'm sweating. I'm kind of out of breath.
No worries.
So I'll try to be quick with my question. But thank you so much for holding this today. I really would love to get involved in my community. So when I saw this opportunity, I think I saw it in the Brooklyn Reader. I was very excited to find out some more information. So anyway, my name is Doyen Saab. My question is, I'm interested in becoming a committee resident member, and I currently work for the New York City Department of Health. So I'm just wondering if there's some type of conflict of interest, and if so, is there some sort of waiver that I need to submit for it so I could participate?
Sure.
Sorry.
Well, let me say no, absolutely. So I'll try and I'll give you the best answer I can, but at the end, I'll give you the resource, will give you the real answer, the definitive answer. So absolutely, you can join a committee. If you're a health professional, that's even better. The only thing you would have to do is if you are conflicted. So in other words, if your agency came up with business before the board, so that would be the only thing. So if your agency came up, you'd have to declare that you have a conflict where it's like, well, that's my boss. That's the agency I work for. So you'd have to declare that, and you may or may not have to recuse yourself depending on what comes up. But as part of that, you would declare that you have a conflict. You're allowed to participate in the conversation. You can give whatever background information you have. The only thing the expectation would be is that you would recuse yourself from the actual vote, which has the effect of it drops our count by 1 for that one vote. So that way you're not conflicting yourself by voting on something that you get an interest in. Now, with that being said, it depends on what committee you're on, who's coming up. I mean, and there might be a couple of other factors. Is this something directly in your department that you would actually be doing or overseeing? So there might be a few questions. Ultimately, that question, there's a resource. The city has the Conflicts of Interest Board, and they have a hotline. So, it's one of those things. If you think that there might be a question, we can discuss it. Or, if we think it's really something that might be a little bit more nuanced, we'll make sure we connect you with the Conflicts of Interest Board, and they'll tell you everything you need to know.
Okay.
And I just want to reiterate that conflict of interest board. So if you even have the thought that it could be a conflict, call the hotline. Call the conflict of interest hotline. This is not one of those situations where you're going to give them information and dime yourself out. No. They will tell you, really, hey, this is a conflict. You cannot do this. And that will set you up for success. So if you think that you might have a conflict, just ask them the question in depth. They'll give you the right response. But I would say that already on the board, we do have people who work in city agencies already. So, there shouldn't be that much of a problem. But again, if any business of your agency comes before the board, yeah, you would have to recuse yourself.
Yeah. And we have more than enough more than enough committees where we can always find a spot for you too. So.
All right, thank you. So basically, I should go ahead and I can go ahead and apply as a resident committee member. There's new waiver or something that I need to sign to submit with my application or anything like that, right?
No,
right. No.
All right. Okay. All right. Thank you. That was helpful. Thanks a lot.
No, thank you. Thank you for joining us this evening as well. Okay. Do we have any other questions? Jay, I do see you, but hold on. We'll come back to see if there's anybody else with a question first. We'll come back to you. All right. Are there any other questions from anyone here? Okay, I don't see anyone right now. Okay, yeah, Mr. Sora, go ahead. We'll take your question.
Sure. On the committees, is there an interest in diversity, geographic diversity rather, where people from different parts of the district they'll be on certain committees like land use. Land use, which is a very important committee, has no one on it geographically from East Flatbush, yet all the projects from Vital Brooklyn are on East Flatbush. So I know that the geographic diversity refers to the entire board, but can the board maybe in the future look at a committee level land use, but there being geographic diversity on the land use committee where people from the neighborhood where they're going to build actually are on that land use committee where they could have a say. No one is there from East Flatbush.
Well, I think that the thing is always this as well. I think, that's why we always ask people to share the information about when the board is meeting, because we want those voices. And it's not even a matter of you have to necessarily be on the committee itself. Like I said, I think especially if there are issues that really touch those, we want that. We invite that kind of commentary. We want to know what the issues are, what's going on the ground, so that way we can truly advocate in that respect. We do the best to try and make sure that we're considering geographic diversity and all kinds of diversity when we're creating the committees. But ultimately, what I say about the committees is I'm always trying to make sure that as a board, we're creating teams that can win, that will get things done. So that's the whole balancing act. So we're looking at that. We're looking at geographic, we're looking at economic, we're looking at socioeconomic, we're looking at all kinds of things, but all ultimately to make sure that we have teams that win and are able to do things. But with that being said, that doesn't mean that, listen, all that commentary, all the information, all all those things matter, and we invite everyone to always come, even if you're not on a committee.
And can I indulge Dante with two quick suggestions, if I could quickly give them, if that's okay, if we have another 10 seconds. Can I do that, Mr. Chair?
You have 9. Go for it.
Okay. Number one, a Dropbox link. I had documents for all of these big vital development projects that, I was told that there's not enough bandwidth. I want to tell people ahead of time when I get it. If you use Dropbox, you can copy a link, you won't use it up. Number two is the YouTube comments are closed. There's no comments on any of the YouTube videos for all the committees. Nothing. Let people put the comments on. Please open it up on the YouTube comments. And number three, on the Zoom, please have a full tile view. Like right now, I can see everyone. If you just have the panel view, it really makes it boring and isolated and cuts down the community. All you have to do is just and you could mute them. It's important to have a full Zoom when you have a general board meeting. Otherwise, with a panel, it's better for a lecture, but not for people to be interactive. Thank you very much.
No, but thanks so much for those suggestions. And I have to say this, the one thing I really appreciate about Dante and the team is that, I think this is one of the commitments we make as a board, is that we're always looking for that kind of commentary to figure out how we can do things better. And I'll say this, in advance, it doesn't always work. Sometimes there are different things or different constraints that we have, but those ideas help us to kind of see where the blind spots are, the weak points are, and we, we're just trying to get better as a board and as a district. So thank you for those comments, and for everyone, we always encourage that as well. Let us know, and we'll do our best to see what we can do. Ms. Westerdahl, I see.
Hello, I'm Teresa Westerdahl. I'm on the Environmental Protection Committee, and I see at least one person here who came to one of our meetings who I would encourage to join the Environmental Protection Committee. We really do need people, and we have a lot of fun together. We went out and did a cleanup one time with Dante in the Empire Boulevard area, and we're hoping to do that again and have some walk around and work on getting things done in our community related to the environmental protection. We need a lot of help there, as you can imagine. So we're welcoming in our committee. So we meet the first Thursday at 7 p.m. So if you have that free in your agenda, you can come anytime. So please do.
Thank you for that, Ms. Westerdahl.
To second that, It's on our website. So if you're interested, they, as Ms. Westerdahl said, they meet, that would be tomorrow. So you can go to our website and that information to log into the meeting is there.
Yes, tomorrow's our meeting. We'd love to have you there. Just show up just to see what goes on, you know, just a regular meeting.
Okay. All right. Are there any questions? Any other? Did everyone have a good time tonight? It was great. It was riveting, informative. Mr. Herbert, thank you. Bless you, sir. Okay. All right. So just to, I guess, just to make sure we're reminding everyone as well. So remember, if you are interested in joining the board, please make sure you follow those addresses. So the deadline will be February 14th. If you have any questions, please feel free. You can contact the district office to the best we can. We'll help you out. But Borough Hall also has the resources and they can definitely talk you through any questions that you have as well. If you know of anyone who has an issue or needs to fill it out by paper, the district office can help you out as well with that. If you don't know if you want to be a board member, or if you have any questions about CB9 itself and some of the things we do or suggestions, please reach out to us. And we're hoping to see all of you on our committee meetings and board meetings. And we'll see you around the block as well. Neighbors, thank you so much. Well, before I go, Dante, do you have anything else? Is there anything else on your side?
No, just everyone, thank you. Thank you for the board members who joined. Look forward to seeing some of you sign up as committee resident members and hopefully board members in the future. So with that, again, you can always reach out to the board office. I'm Dante. I'm the district manager. We have a great staff, Mia and Khalid. They will assist you. So reach out to them, reach out to the board office. Where there is a resource.
And don't worry, we'll sign you up. We got everybody's names, from the participant list. So we'll sign you up anyway. Don't worry about it. Okay, but everyone, thank you very much again. Have a great evening and take care.
All right. Take care, everyone.